Hey everyone, I have a box. As you know, Menards has been making locomotives of different descriptions, and this is one of those. And I'm pretty excited to go in and open this up. So, let's get right into it. Now, this piece was shipped via just this box. It just arrived like this. We need to cut more of this stuff here. Okay. Wow. First impressions are pretty good. There's a lot of styrofoam here. So what I have here is the Menards non-powered dummy engine. And I have to say, that looks super sharp. Alright, so far the packaging has been pretty good. Of course, this is the dummy, but so far, oh, damn it, the N scale train fell over. Okay, I'm not going to pick it up anymore. You know what? I'm done with that. But we'll look at the top here. This is, of course, the blue bonnet. Working lights, front and rear lighting, including lit classification lights, lighted cab interior, and 2 engineers. Complete with, or compatible with all, you know, blah, 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 whatever. This one goes around 031 or larger, so it's not an 027 piece. Crack this thing open and see what we have to... Yeah. Now, I have seen several reviews already on this, talking about how the, there's some sort of resistor in there that's not properly rated for the LEDs, although I'm not 100% sure. I've seen some videos on that. But here we have a bag there, and this thing is pretty light. This thing is very light. Kind of light feeling there. Okay. This thing does smell pretty strongly. I don't know what it's supposed to smell like, but it smells pretty strongly of something. Okay. Wow. This does not look horrible. It's incredibly light. That's my first impression. Which, it's not supposed to be, like, super heavy or anything. Oh, I already got fingerprints on there. But the paint already, it's very sharp. This paint scheme looks super good. And I am noticing a few bits of overspray and where the colors kind of blend together. But it's not a big deal. It looks fine. It doesn't look horrible. Up at the front here, we have the singular headlight, and then the 2 number boards, which are nice and big. And then we have the 2 figures inside. We have the chrome horns, which look pretty nice. There's a little bit of paint bleed on those, but that's fine. Chrome underside and chrome trucks, which I definitely prefer to the gold on the original. I already noticed there's a little bit of a mark there, which is annoying. Oh, that's coming off. Okay, so luckily, whatever kind of crud that was, that's off. Whether that was from the packaging or something. But silver paint looks fantastic. Any little fingerprints like that you see, that's just from me. Because this thing was outside in the cold, waiting. But we have smoke units there. This one doesn't have smoke units, but it has where you can put smoke units. Because I believe they use the same shelf for their rocket diner. Here, they have kind of the goofy backup light where the light is in the door, even though on real units, I believe it's up there, but it's fine. You know, at least it has a backup light. And it's got, strangely enough, a chrome coupler. That's fascinating. And it's just got, it doesn't have electro couplers or anything, of course, because it's a Menards unit. Some parts are a little bent out of place, which I could easily fix. But I mean, this thing is very well proportioned. I don't know where they got this tooling from or if they made it themselves, but it looks pretty good. The chrome on the bottom, that is very shiny and very attractive. The silver on the top is nice. There's like little details like the F there for the front, the logo. This paint detail there. The portholes look pretty nice, and the lettering looks crisp. And that's pretty much it. Like, cosmetically, this thing is pretty solid. It does have a few, you know, from the factory, it has a few little errors, but, you know, those can probably be wiped off, like fingerprints or whatnot. Those could be wiped off with just some cleaner. But then there's also a little printing back here too, which is actually, that's a nice little touch. But it looks pretty solid. It's got good detail up here with the, you know, heaters there. I believe that's for passenger service. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, first impressions are pretty good looks-wise. Feel-wise, it feels a little cheap. I'm pretty sure this base feels plastic, but metal-coated. I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, that's plastic. So the base is plastic, or at least a lot of the parts on the base are plastic. I believe that the actual metal plate, or the actual base, not the tanks are plastic. That's what I was gonna say. The tanks are plastic. I believe the trucks are plastic, if I'm not mistaken. And then the base here, that's metal. So it's good. At least there are some metal parts of this. Rollers, they aren't shiny, but I don't think they're supposed to be. But they don't look dirty either. They look fine. Or maybe they just don't look shiny compared to the rest of this very shiny base. And then there's a little switch here, presumably for different light settings. So we're going to take this over to the track and see how it performs. I've got the transformer powered on, and I'm going to turn up the throttle. Wish me luck. Pray that this thing doesn't explode. If this video is uploaded, then it probably means this thing didn't explode. Hopefully it doesn't start smoking or anything. So let's see this. Nothing is happening. I don't see anything. The reverse light's not on. Okay. Are we sure this track is live? I believe so. Let's try that switch on the bottom there. Okay, so the one switch controls all of the lights. Which, again, you know, I was expecting the switch to be able to toggle between forward and reverse lighting, but it's fine. We have cool blue LEDs, which, you know, I would prefer something more warm, but this is a cheap model, so don't expect much. There's a little bit of bleed through the plastic, which could be fixed through painting the inside of the shell. I'll probably do some mods to this locomotive if I feel like it. If I don't feel like it, then I'll just leave it stock. But lighting looks pretty good. Headlight is bright. I'm going to turn off this light here so that we can get more of an idea of what this looks like in the dark. Now you can actually kind of see the number boards. 3945, which is just kind of the typical number for Menards locomotives. Again, super bright LEDs. 3945 there, 3945 there. That looks good. I would say, yeah, lighting is what it is, just about what I expected. If the sort of capacitor or transistor, whatever the hell is exploding on these things, is starts smoking or anything or gives out, I'll probably redo the lighting in this with my own techniques, and I'll use, you know, warmer lights, but this doesn't look bad. The lighting is consistent. It's pretty solid. Here's the locomotive on the workbench again, and I'm going to be taking this thing apart and kind of do an electrical diagnosis of this, just to kind of see how it's doing, you know, how all the wiring's laid out, if they did a good solid job with the wiring or not. So let's see. On this model, it appears there's 2 screws up here and 2 screws in the back, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of those. Okay, now we can just kind of lift the shell off, and here's the inside of the locomotive. Alright, as you can see, here's the locomotive interior, and already, first impressions, very tidy wiring job in this. No big gobs of hot glue or any kind of mess, and the soldering, from what I've seen, is pretty well hidden with some shrink insulator. It's all twist tied up. We have a nice little board here with all the components on it. I believe previously, from what I remember, there were just components floating around in here, like the capacitor. That was just floating around in there, and it wasn't properly rated for the voltages. But here, this all looks to be in pretty good shape. It's all on a nice little board, far away from the grounding base. And it's got, it's got a good amount of quality to it, I suppose. We have just the metal frame here, which is where most of the very little weight that this thing has comes from. Of course, the tank, I can 100% confirm that's plastic. Trucks are plastic, again, I think I've mentioned that before. I really like that these lights are not mounted to the shell, because that just makes it a pain if you ever want to repaint or work on the shell or work on the base independently. This is just so much easier, and it's probably cheaper to manufacture too. And I would bet you this would be a breeze to take apart. This part is being recorded kind of the morning after I did most of that review, so I've run this thing quite a bit, and I've had zero problems with the smoking. The capacitor is working perfectly fine. And yeah, I suppose that's pretty much it for the base of this locomotive. As I was running this kind of in the dark last night, I noticed that the bright LEDs tend to shine through the plastic and the paint. The paint is on there pretty thinly, and up here near the number boards, the LEDs shine through quite a lot. And then especially at the back, the entire back is kind of illuminated. So what I'll probably do to rectify that is just paint the entire inside of this thing black. Yeah, I'm not really prioritizing keeping this thing original at this point. I more so want to have a nice model to work with. But I'll keep some of the... I'll likely keep the chrome on the base because it's unique. And it just kind of works... Or it just kind of denotes this as a special release model or a beta model. I guess I'll get this thing hooked up to something and we'll run this consist around. Okay, so after running it, I ran it at a few speeds, and for a while, it didn't have any problems. It just ran fine, the lights didn't flicker or anything, everything was good. Definitely the power pickup is sufficient to withstand, or I guess withhold, a pretty consistent lighting output. Everything, is up to snuff. The only thing that I personally don't like about the lighting is, or the only few things, is I don't like that the reverse light, or just the light at the back, is in the window or of the rear door and not above the rear door. And I don't like the bluish white. Even though, it's a fine job and everything, it looks alright. I just personally prefer warmer colors in, older style locomotives. So eventually, one way or the other, I'm probably going to redo the wiring in this. Not to say that Menards did a bad job. I don't know yet. But, you know, I'm skeptical because I've seen some reviews in the past where they put in a component that isn't rated for the voltage or any of the voltages that are being input, and it isn't particularly rated for the output from what my memory says. So if that, push comes to shove and that thing, starts smoking, I'm just going to redo the wiring. But even if I had to redo the wiring, this thing is still a pretty good deal. So if you're looking for a Santa Fe Bluebonnet for a good price, now's the time to find one of these. And, well, if I get another unit, I'll do a more in-depth review on it. Or if I get a powered unit, I'll do a more in-depth review on that. But I'm not 100% convinced yet. So, I guess, yeah. It looks pretty. It'd probably be a good shelf piece, but I don't know about the, looking at it up close or about that component within the wiring circuit. So I'll see you in the next video, and just have a good day.